let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome along. It is Monday evening. It's 8 p.m. So it is, of course, the Online Darts Live Lounge. Me, Phill, joined by Jack Gobby Garwood and Lee Boyce, decided to put in an appearance this evening after a lacklustre wedding excuse last week. Gentlemen, good evening.
As excuses go, Boydie, that's a poor one.
I don't know what to say. You know, a cheap wedding. Maybe to Monday, pay less. But I can tell you it definitely happened. I can tell you it definitely happened because I didn't move out of bed till 4 o'clock on Tuesday. The handover was that bad. We definitely went ahead.
That wasn't that cheap for you then. It was just cheap for those hosting.
Yeah.
Welcome along, everyone in the chat room. Outstanding. We get there and it's already rammed. So welcome along. All the usual suspects are in. Max, Missy, Daniel, welcome aboard. What else have we got? Juanita, of course. Juanita is in. I had a good chat with Gigi in the studio the other day as well. Juanita, he's good. Chris is in. Raven, Jonathan, how we doing? Curtis, Max, welcome along, everyone. We've just shared some links on social media, so please make sure you give them a share so everyone else knows we are live, and give us a thumbs up, because it helps with logistics and rankings and everything like that, where we sit in search engines within YouTube. But gentlemen, never a dull moment in the darting world, is there? Again, no PDC action, but still plenty to talk about.
As always, we say no PDC action. This is the last time we're going to use those words for the next 6 weeks, because every single weekend on the calendar from now until the middle of October, there is Professional Darts Corporation Darts, televised or on PDC TV. Plus, we've got Challenge Tour. Plus, we've got Ladies Series. We're in for a busy 6 weeks, boys. What are we doing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely huge. And some good news as well. We'll be bringing you extra content this weekend. As long as the PCR test goes all right, I will be in Budapest for the Euro Tour, bringing you backstage reaction as it happens from the Euro Tour in Budapest.
You're a what?
Well, pest, agreed. But no, yeah, so plenty of, as long as the PCR test goes all right, plenty of extra content coming your way. And of course, the live lounge will be available as a pod as well for all those that want to listen back to us waffle darting nonsense for the next few hours. But remember, chat room is going to be lit as always, so make sure you get your questions in, and we will get to them as and when breaks appear or at the end as always. So we'll start with this one and get it out of the way, because I don't want to dwell on this too much. But Gob, this one here, what Damon Heta and the guys have done on social media over the last week, nothing short of absolute sensation from the darting family coming together to raise funds for Kyle's young family.
It's absolutely massive. I struggled to talk about it, to be honest. Obviously, couldn't do the show last week, but just the reaction from everybody, the post, the social media just shows just how loved Kyle was, and the response to this, all the players getting involved, all the donations for the list, and the money being raised as well. The Just Giving page alone, before the raffle was set up, raised enough to actually get Kyle back to Perth with the family, and it just keeps going and going and going. I think you've got until tomorrow to get involved if you want to. Hopefully everybody will have gone through payday then, so please, if you can, just spare a little bit. But the fact this comes from Damon is something I want to talk about. And I haven't pre-warned you about this. But for Kyle's 30th birthday, and this goes along the similar lines of a paragraph from the piece I wrote about Kyle, in that as we both moved out and lived separately, we drifted a little bit, but you can just drop into a conversation with Kyle like that and you can pick up from where you left off. And that's sort of what Kyle and Damon did. For Kyle's 30th, I asked friends and family to just record a little message to him for his birthday, put it all together and gave it to him. Put all the friends and people that I knew and some of the players towards the start, put his family towards the end, just in case it got a bit emotional, want him to see everything. But I didn't actually know who Damon was at the time, and he just appeared in the middle of this video. It was passed on from the family, and that was the one that got Kyle. Kyle broke down, and you've seen the photos of Damon and Kyle that have played together at youth level. They hadn't spoken for a while. He's like, oh my God, how on earth did you get Damon? It just goes to show how close those two were when they were a lot younger, and just how much they meant to each other.
Yeah, and it's not obviously the amount of top stars as well that have put something. We've seen the Gary Anderson shirt is around £1,400 on its own. MVG has put 2 Premier League shirts in from this year. Bobby George, a one-off shirt. Wayne Mardle, a one-off shirt. Really, really reaching, Boise.
Yeah, it is. And I think when Damon started it, I'm not sure exactly, but it was about 20. I think there's 20 prizes as such. And when I'd last seen it, that was up to 99. And there's so many different auctions that are taking place on top of the draw he's going to do. So much work done in. I've seen an interview with Matt last week, and they're talking about, as Dobbs touched upon there, that, you know, within a day or two, they had enough money that Carl and his family were down back to Perth. It just shows as well, one, huge shout out to everyone in the darting community who's put part of it, but it's shown how much of an impact Carl had on individuals. I spoke to Dob last week. I also spoke to Matt, who was Matt Dennant, who was very close to Kyle. And it just shows everyone just had so many good words about him, and it just shows how much everyone's come together now and, you know, are donating, and hopefully will continue to donate to support the family of Kyle Anderson. Yeah,
completely. Like I said, I don't want to dwell on this too much because we did a massive piece on it, but I just had to highlight what good work had been done within the darting family over the last, or just coming up for a week. And Missy, yes, fingers crossed, I will be in Amsterdam. Hotel is provisionally booked as long as travel restrictions and all that hold. So, yes. But, gentlemen, this weekend, the return of the European Tour. We're not getting 13 events. We're only getting 2, but it's a start, and I cannot wait, gentlemen. These scenes, and we are going to Hungary for the very first time. Exciting news, boys.
All I'm excited for is the return of 180, the song, because that's what we've all been missing in our lives. Bit of Peter Wright looking like God knows what, just out of nowhere saying the words 180.
Oh, I love the song. And the Euro Tour DJ, Boise, of course.
Of course. I know Dob picked up on my dance moves the other week, but they'll be back out when I'm watching the Euro Tour at the weekend, because everyone likes the Euro Tour DJ, as we all know. So the dance moves will be out next weekend, just not on stream for Dob to see. I might send him a video of my dance moves. So that's fine.
When we do our tour of Pop World, I want the Euro Tour DJ to come with us.
Yeah. Oh, that would be mint. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just a little slot. We'll take like an half-hour slot from him. Obviously, he's the Euro Tour DJ. I'm sure he's very popular. But we'll take a little half-hour slot in Pop World. I'd be well up for
that. So, yeah. But with the Euro Tour coming back, there's also a lot of questions to answer, shall we say. The PDC announced in their press release that they will be taking the European Tour Order of Merit for the European Championship Finals, which means there's only 2 events for players to get this right. Big pressure on these two events, boys.
Ridiculous pressure, especially when you consider the fact that seeds, because of where they enter, don't earn money from their first round game.
Correct.
That's horrific. If I am, we consider everything when we talk about darts. If I am the commercial team behind the first two and the European Championship, Kazoo, and I've got a chance of the big boys missing out when you already have the likes of Gary Anderson that just does not play in this, I'm fuming.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, Boise.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So I do understand the rule normally. It makes total sense to me normally when you have the number of events that we normally have on the Euro Tour. To only have two this time and to keep that rule seems very strange, because if you have, let's start MVG who doesn't turn up for 2 weeks and he misses out on this tournament, which, as Dob said there, as tournament sponsor, you want those names there. We know that we always miss one in Ando. We're surely going to miss more because the tour and third qualifiers, and we will have some shots which we also always see on the Euro Tour. So it's going to be very strange that we're going to see potentially a couple of the big names miss out on the European Championships because of this being in place.
Well, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Obviously, the draw's not till Thursday, but as long as one of these qualifiers come through, could you imagine if, I'm going to use the big three as an example here, Wright, MVG and Price, say if they pulled in the draw Rob Cross, Simon Whitlock and Adrian Lewis.
Trouble.
Then upsets happen.
Big trouble. If upsets happen, there's big trouble. Another thing to consider is there is Euro Tours. You play for a serious amount of money, right? There's already a significant step up from the Pro Tours. 2 events to qualify for a major tournament that you traditionally get 13 chances to, or 13 events to qualify within. That could have a major unbalancing of the world rankings as the way they sit.
One thing, and maybe I would flip it though, is potentially these 16 seeds will only need to win 1 game to qualify. So we're saying that some might miss out, but then if you flip it the other way, they only need to win 1 game to qualify for a major event, which I also find very strange. It just doesn't feel right. Like I says, I think what they did in regards to the prize money down there on your rankings for the people in second round who come in as a seed normally made total sense, and when they brought that in made total sense. But to have that still in place for the seeding with only 2 events seems very strange, and I can't see the benefits of it either way.
People are asking for a list of people who have qualified. So as if like magic, working on the fly, good old Wikipedia comes into play. So for Hungary this week, your seeds are 16 of them: Joe Cullen, Jose de Souza, Peter Wright, Michael Van Gerwen, Gerwin Price, Michael Smith, Johnny Clayton, James Wade, Devin Peterson, Christoph Ratajski, Dirk van Dijvenbode, Damon Hetta, Danny Noppert, Brendan Dolan, Menzel Sulevic, and Nathan Aspinall are the 16 seeds. Then, this is the interesting bit, the tour card qualifiers. Ross Smith, John Michael, Louis Williams, Gert de Vos, Rob Cross, Keegan Rand, Joe Mernon, Simon Whitlock, Daryl Gurney, Darren Webster, Steve Beaton, Jake Jones, Alan Suter, Madas Rasma, Luke Humphreys, Willie Borland, Adrian Lewis, Bradley Brooks, Vincent van der Voort, William O'Connor, Boris Kirchmark, Florian Hempel, Gert Nenches, and Keane Barry. Now, boys, for people that are chasing tour card or chasing to keep their tour card, this is a huge opportunity. Flip the coin we said about the seeds. Huge opportunity for someone to get into the European Championship finals as well.
Massive. Not being funny. The name that stands out there at the minute is because of the way that you said it, but also because he's in absolutely no form at all, is Darren Webster. If he picks up one of the host nation qualifiers, without being disrespectful in the first round, but they don't really compete with the top boys after looking at their averages from the other week. If he picks up one of the host nation qualifiers and then drops in against someone like Devon Peterson, who is not in the best of form at all, that's a nice whack of cash that then puts him in a major. That's another bit of cash. That's his tour card save, basically. He's 2 games away here from saving his tour card at the European Championship.
Yeah, massive for him. But like we said, there's also some question marks to be had, especially for, you mentioned him there, Devon Peterson. Since the match play when he last played on TV, because I class these as mini majors because they're still played in front of a good crowd with cameras. Big Dev's got some questions to answer, Boise.
He has. However, he potentially wins one game and he's going to then have opportunity. He only needs to win one game, I would presume, mate, potentially 2 at the push, but say one game over the 2 and he's got opportunities. So it's certainly for him, I would be looking at this positively and seeing it as an opportunity. He's certainly got questions to ask because his form hasn't been there recently, but it's one of them that falls into if he turns up and depending on the draw, he could have a draw which is favourable for him. He wins that one game, and then he's got the opportunity of being in the major, and there's more money there for him. So there's one for him, and for me, another name probably in that 16 who's going to be interesting to see is Mensah, because we haven't seen much or any of Mensah over the past few months. I'd seen that he played in an event the weekend, but other than that, we've seen very, very little from him. So they're probably the 2 in the 16 who there is questions there. But they only need that one win, and then they'll have more opportunities at the European Championships.
I think that was important that we saw Mensah play at the weekend, Gob, because if he hadn't have played, then the likelihood is the towel's in, isn't it? The white flag's waving high.
Yeah, and I don't know how he got on at the weekend. I don't know to what standard he played. I'm pretty sure Kim Hybrex was in the same room, so it looked like a half-decent... Even if it's just a local competition, it looked like a half-decent one of them. It shows he's getting his arm in at the absolute minimum, which means he's still going to have a chuck, basically. If we've not seen him pick up a dart at all, then there's serious concerns about him playing for the rest of the year and then potentially handing his card back and everything that goes with it. The fact that he is playing darts locally means he's still got something about him, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So the draw comes out Thursday. We'll be up on the website as soon as it's out for you all to see. Some interesting talk around the Euro Tour. I know there's been some great chat in the chat room about this. The players that have qualified for ET3 that doesn't look as if it's going to happen. I just look at the calendar, and unless they manage to find something in 4 days somewhere, but I can't see it because the players obviously don't know, and getting people in would be tough. So let's assume that there is only 2. People like Jeff Smith, that at the moment, okay, yes, he's in the Worlds and keeping his card. But if he doesn't and he misses out, and sorry if you're watching, Jeff, 'cause I know you do, and I hope this doesn't happen, but say Jeff Smith, I'm just using him as an example, misses out on his tour card, all going to the Worlds by £500, and that ET money that they've qualified for would have put him in there. That's not right, is it?
No. And look, we say this a lot. I use the same line that when the PDC get it right, we're very quick to praise them. But when they get it wrong, we'll give them it. And this is a situation they have to resolve, and they have to communicate with the players. Luke Woodhouse is another in exactly the same position that finds himself mid-rankings, that could find himself in the same situation at the back end of the year. And there's a couple more that are going to be in that situation too. You have to communicate, even if it's this is what's going on at the minute, this is our options. If we don't get a Euro Tour 3 in, this is what we'll do. If we do get a Euro Tour 3 in, we'll continue as normal. We've got this, this, and this on the table. Go through the PDPA, find out what the players want. Because that's what they're there for. This situation is crying out for the PDPA, for the Players' Union, as they basically are, to communicate with the PDC and get them an answer. That has to be stronger. That communication there has to be better.
Yeah, and this weekend's proved that chain at the moment is broken, Boise, because of the amount of players that have vocally said on social media they don't know what is going on.
Yeah, 100%. It is broken. There's got to be a communication very soon about it. There's, for every player who qualifies for these, that's a minimum of £1,000. Then it's the knock-on of that's the minimum that they could earn. And like we've said, depending on the draw, even if someone's not playing well, you tend to have a couple of wins and you're at a major event in the European Championship. So there's got to be communication. For me, it's got to be done very quickly as well. I was very, very surprised to see the announcement of the European Championship without us knowing what's happening with ET3. Like we said, it might still happen. It's just, we was having a quick discussion before we come on today around the calendar and how busy the calendar is. I can't see how that's going to be, that's going to fit in anywhere at all. It's crazy.
At the moment, we're putting 2 and 2 together, just looking at the calendar, and I can't see where it slots. There just isn't physical room, I don't think, to put it in there, which says it's not going to happen. Which potentially is an absolute kick in the kahunas to players. Couple of questions in the chat room. Connor is joining us. Hope you are good, mate. Hope you got home well. Congratulations on qualifying for Champions Week. But we've got on here, but we're only 2 Euro Tours, means that someone like MVG Price, if they lose twice in the first round, they don't become any money and miss out on the European Championships. Correct. That is exactly what will happen. And I'd love to be a fly on the wall if you're the, like Gob said, you're the Kazoo commercial manager. And worst case scenario, you've got no Gary Anderson, no MVG, no Gerwin Price, or no Peter Wright for a major. That's not going to go down too well.
Look, we get it's a meritocracy and that anybody can qualify and do whatever, and there's a chance that those players will pull out or miss or just don't have a very good season. But chances are, if they're not having a very good season, that players that are coming through are playing better darts and getting those spots. Missing out this time because there's only been 2 qualifiers and they've lost 2 games.
Yeah.
Also on the back of that, not just the qualifying for it, seeing how the seedings is going to work for it when whoever does qualifying, you're going to have potential that very strange looking seedings because you're doing it off the back of 2 events instead of doing it over the year, which you normally have. So the seedings look a bit of a fair reflection of how that's done. So it's another one, obviously, it's not a talking point at the moment as we've not had those events to see. But if we have a surprise in a semi-final or final, them seedings will look very strange.
Yeah.
We see that with the players' champs, don't we? Let's be fair, because the Pro Tour's so hit and miss and you see players opting in and out and the likes. But we haven't really seen a complete mismatch of seedings at the Euro Tour before, because you get the top boys to perform. MVG dominates. You get Peter Wright turn up and doing bit. Joe Collins perform really well. You still get your Chisnalls, your Rob Crosses that are making the latter stage of these competitions. They tend to make up the seedings, Johnny Clayton, Gerwin Price. But we haven't really seen that go to part at the European Championship, which is massive considering the amount of money's on the line for it. All right, you get the same for the Players' Championship, but that's the risk that the players take with the massive field. There's still chances for you to avoid each other.
Well, just to talk on that, 2 players that certainly aren't going to be at the European Championships is Dave Chisnall and Ian White. They haven't qualified for any of the Euro Tours. So they will not be at the European Championship finals, regardless of what happens in the Euro Tour. That's 2 players, boys, you'd expect to be at the European Championship finals on a normal year.
You would expect, and once again we're going back to it, but I'm sure the sponsors would expect as well. And obviously we've changed it, and they didn't qualify for any of those, so it's not as if they've missed out as them not in ET3. But you add those names to what then potentially could be a list of big names that are missing out. It then potentially has an impact on the same quality that we're expecting to see at these events. So it's going to be a strange one to look at and review once we get to the end of the second event. Down on the basis that the third one doesn't go ahead. Of seeing 1, the seedings pan out, and 2, what names miss out, and how many names miss out, and how many shots, shall we say, that we see in the Euros.
Yeah, I think it was Juanita asked, out of the seeds, who do we think's in danger of not making it?
Probably the
Depends on
two
the
that we
draw,
spoke
doesn't
about.
it, really?
If you're looking pre-draw, probably the two that we spoke about are the ones that you're looking at, because we're not sure what form Mentor's going in with, and obviously Devon isn't having the best time. But on Thursday, and you looked at the draw, that could all certainly change.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But let's jump back into the chat room. Mason's in. Oh, go on. Before we do that,
I think it'd be more important when we get round to event 2 if a seed loses in event 1, because then they are really up against it.
Oh, Christ, yeah. Yeah, completely. Mace is in. Hope you're doing well, mate. He says, I thought today was really good. Oh, yeah, Live League was absolutely really good this morning. The Hennihan brothers, absolutely outstanding. We knew Connor from his first time around, but his brother was superb as well. Wolfie, a little bit slow, but gather momentum as always. We'll touch on the Live League towards the middle of the show. We've got a nice little clip teed up. Catherine says, I watch your dart shows, they're amazing. Thank you very much. Our pleasure. Yeah, I think so, Connor. It's that Monday. So whichever one that is. May says rule change incoming, Phil. don't worry. You've always got to leave that little bit of wiggle room for rule number 1, as Jonathan has just said in the chat room there. Correct. Rule number 1 could come into play, ladies and gentlemen. We've sort of touched on it as well. We'll get the picture up as well. Off the back of the Euro Tour, PDC also announced that the European Championship finals heading to Salzburg this year due to the continued issues getting crowds in Germany. We're going to Salzburg, where they played the World Series finals last year, I think it was.
I think so, yeah.
So we're going there with fans, decent capacity, which will be good. And at least for a TV event, it will look back to normal on TV with a proper crowd, where last year these events, when they were changed at the last minute and they could only have 250 in, just didn't look right on TV, did it?
No, darts doesn't really work with that mid-sized, slightly open room crowd. It needs to be tightly packed in. It just needs all of that. It just doesn't really have the right visuals, aesthetic. It doesn't sound right. Yeah, hopefully, as long as things don't change, we are still, 7, 8, 9 weeks away from this. But yeah, it should be mid.
Yeah, look, I can't wait. Obviously, Peter Wright's there with his trophy, looking to defend that this year. It'll be interesting to see in the Euro Tour what darts he plays with, whether we have the gold elements, the gold tweaked elements, or something completely different where he's been bored for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a show without talking about Peter Wright's darts, even though we've not seen him for a few weeks. We'd certainly know he's going to change and have different ones in these events. But as we go back, interesting to see what he uses. And just touching on the venue, for me, now we've moved back and we've seen fans and we've seen full capacity, i.e. the match play, with every event now that's normally with fans, we've got to see, if we're in a country and it's not possible, we've got to see them moved, because it is key that fans are back for these TV events. It just isn't the same without them.
I'm completely with you. I'm well up for moving a Euro Tour to Vegas. I mean, Mace says 3,500 each session. It's pretty much sold out. Can't wait. Peter is in. He said gold elements. There we have it. Hot off the press. Right, he will be using the gold elements that he won the world match play with as he looks to defend his crown. Right, where to? Let's go with this one first. Let's build up to this. We're gonna come and do some talking points on the World Cup, because there are a few. First of all, Team Latvia, Manas Razma wasn't a happy boy on social media this weekend, as it was revealed that Latvia are only on the reserve their first reserve for the World Cup. Couple of points on this. One, I find this very strange that they find out on Twitter that it was a misunderstanding. And two, do we think it's right that a country that has a tour card holder is only a reserve, yet countries that don't have tour card holders are already in? Let's discuss, and let's get the chat room involved in this. Do you think it's right as well?
Sounds like an absolute cock-up to me, to put it in the nicest way possible. It's nearly 9 o'clock. We can say it like that. Yeah, look, it just looks incredibly unprofessional. It looks a bit of a mess. We're sort of getting these signals from the PDC at the minute, whether that be Europe, Nordic and Baltic, the UK. There's a little bit of lack of communication at the minute with what's going on. Don't get me wrong, they're probably working their asses off behind the scenes, but there's just so much unknown at the minute, so much of the things that we praised the PDC for in the start of lockdown, with how open they were, with how quick and decisive they were with making things, with how they communicated that they were holding off for certain things. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of that going on at the minute. There's a lot of rules that seem to be tinkering or changing in the background that we're not really sure of, and just needs to be that little bit clearer. Not even for us, for the players, because this is the second event we're talking about tonight, where players don't know what's going on.
Yeah. The other point, though, Boise, is it right that a country that has a tour card holder is only a reserve, and countries that don't have tour card holders are in your opinion? Is that right or is that wrong?
It's not right. For me, how you'd looked at it, surely you're going down the rankings and picking off players. So, number one in the world is currently Darren Webster. So Wales are on. Number two is Peter Wright, Scotland. And you're sort of working down the list. I understand where there's certain countries where they're looking to promote the game more, so you want to see their countries in there. But there's no way that Latvia shouldn't be in it with Rasma in the top 64. So we've got players in the top 64 not representing. And like I said, the flip part of that as well is the communication, which doesn't seem to be to the standard we've seen before. But for me, it's not right at all that they're only first reserve. And we have seen that reserves, especially at the moment, there's a good chance compared to normal that they will be competing, but they shouldn't be in a situation where they're unsure and they are on the reserve list. Not for me.
Right. Which one should we do first? We'll do this one first. We'll save the one. Jonathan, I've got some bits on that in a minute. Henry, before we move on, says, do we need new qualifying system post seeds? Yeah, look, I think it could help. That's for sure, qualifying system. But we'll see. Right. A lot of question marks. Will these two defend their crown? I'm led to believe from a very good source that Team Wales will be complete in this World Cup.
It certainly sounds a lot better than it did 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
As we understand it, both players are vaccinated, both players are ready to travel. Wales should be defending their crown. Whether or not they've been invited yet is a bizarre one, because as we move on, Phill.
We'll come on to that in a second. But yeah, we believe that Gezi has had his second vaccine and will go to the World Cup. I know there was some talk, he was very cryptic on his Instagram, but we believe that the Welsh pairing will be there. Now,
Phill, just on that note, which is very, very good, considering how busy we say in the next 6 weeks are, and the majority of that is all round Europe. It is very good for DARTS if Darren Price is at those events, considering we didn't see him at the Premier League. So just on that point, before you go into the next one, it's so good that we are seeing Darren Price. And we should always see the pairings back the same for me. I know that's a a different debate on where you are in the rankings. But for me, if you've won the World Cup as that pairings, the following year it should be the same pairings. So we should hopefully we'll see him defending that.
Very good for his investment portfolio as well, to be fair.
A lot of chat on social media, a lot of chat in the chat room right now. When I put this up, it might go to another level. We haven't seen this pair since they won it. Now, I dropped a message to Gary Anderson's manager about an hour before we came on, just to see if he was going, because I'd heard he dropped me a few cryptic messages to say he might. He was thinking about it. He didn't know. No, it was changing by the day. So I dropped Tommy a message, and I quote, and I double checked with him. I said, first of all, after he said what he said to me, I said, can I quote you on this evening's show? And he just put back, yes, with a smiley face. So, as it stands, about 6:30 this evening, Gary Anderson's management have not been asked if Gary would like to represent Scotland or is he planning to represent Scotland. No contact from the PDC regarding the World Cup to Gary Anderson's management stable. Thoughts, chat room, and thoughts, you two.
I'm just amazed that, look, we know Gary has his moments and beliefs about travelling. He's not the biggest fan of the Euro Tour and everything else going around at the minute. But the fact Simon Whitlock already has his shirt, by the way, and the fact Gary Anderson hasn't even been contacted is absolute madness.
And that came from Tommy, who is Gary's manager, around 6:30.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Like to Dobbs' point, we've seen Whitlock put his shirt on, and it raises a number of questions. Is the assumption that Gary wasn't going? Surely they shouldn't be taking that route if that's the case. And then also, if they've done that with Gary, is there any other doubles pairings that haven't been contacted yet by the PDC on what they are? And with the event not that long away, it's certainly going to be interesting. With all the restrictions and stuff, you'd like to think that this was already planned and, you know, players have already sorted out their flights and so on and so forth. But for a player of Gary Anderson's stature to not even be asked is very, very strange.
Well, I know.
Forget the stature, by the way, boys, because look, I think we've spoken about this a little bit tonight about players potentially missing European championships and looking at the bigger names. Forget the fact he's a big name. He is ranked in a position that earns him this right on performance on merit. We'd be saying exactly the same if this was any other player that was number 1 or number 2 for their country in the rankings. It's just the fact we've got this man Gary, and it's a little bit more of a story, but it's just mad. People say I need more respect for Ando. Like, just more respect for the players in full stop.
Yeah. He's, for me, I was just going to add there, Dob, is there some sort of assumption from the PDC, whether it's Darry or anyone else, that the top 2 players are going? You know what? It's very strange. Very strange. Yeah, and I agree with you on that. It seems like we've touched upon the Latvians, and the communication there wasn't great. And that was with someone who's just inside the 64. So for it to happen as well to Darry Anderson, well, I'm sure we'll see this story progress over the coming days and weeks when we see who he's down to be competing in the World Cup.
Well, it's just interesting because I know a few players that are going direct from the Euro Tour to Jeddah. They're not coming back to the UK because it's too much of a ball ache. So there's not that much time to get this sorted. Which It's going to be interesting. And like I say, that came direct from Tommy, and he gave me permission to quote him as well, which is always good. Fantasy darts now, boys. Let's say Team Scotland is how we have it on screen. Who would you fancy, Team Wales or Team Scotland?
Scotland.
To progress further, Scotland, but I don't think either wins it for me.
Where are you going?
I'm going Dutch. That partnership, and we are talking about potential partnerships as we've still had no confirmation. But the partnership of MVG and Dirk is certainly one that's going to excite people. People that don't want to win it, I personally think they will. But I've got a strong feeling that will be the first title in a while for MVG if he doesn't pick one up for them. But I think that could be the first one. And I just can't wait to see the partnership, especially in the doubles. I know we always talked about there should be more doubles, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Dirk and MVG teamed up.
We'll come back onto that in a second. Just going to jump back into the chat room. Lots of chitter-chatter around this, like we knew it would. Say, Weekly Darts Car says Peter and Hendo to bring it home. I'm not sure that they can win it, if I'm being honest. Not think there's too much.
It would be Andy Bolt.
Yeah, look.
Is Andy Bolt above?
Looking at
Hendo,
it.
I think so. Let's have a look.
Alton is 51. Endo should be higher than that, isn't it? Henderson 44.
Oh, 44, maybe not. It is Hendo, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Endo. The point on that though, PB, for me is how strong the partnerships are when you look at the seedings. If we see everyone play as we expect to, minus Gary Anderson, I think it's going to be very difficult for Peter Wright and Endo, or some of the other partnerships where we've got a very strong player and someone who's a bit further down the seedings to come through those because of the singles names. There's so much pressure going to be on Peter Wright to potentially win every single one of his singles names, then down into the doubles. There's some of the pairings are ridiculous this year if we do see them all play.
Yeah. Sam says, do we know when the actual pairing will be?
He's one of the favourites. Have a player that's miles out the rankings.
So then, Dob.
I said, you say that, but one of the favourites always are, and for me, are probably even more so this year. Have a player that's quite far out in the rankings. I think it's a bit of a faux ranking, but he's just not played very well. But he plays unreal at this event.
You're going Belgium, aren't you?
Belgium? Yeah, Kim Huybrechts, ranked 36th.
Do you envisage them winning it?
Animal when he puts on that Belgium. So,
do you envisage them winning it? Looking at the other pairings?
Yeah, I do actually. Short race,
so, yeah.
Jimmy, mate.
Yeah, but however, if he's on last and there's 1-2 Dimmy specials. But yeah, San says, do we know when they're going to announce it? On the back of what Weekly Darts Cast in the chat room says as well. I'm guessing it's Lau. Last year, pairings of the top 32 teams were announced 3 weeks beforehand. Surprised they're not out yet. Yeah, agreed. I can't believe that they're not out yet either, because I was looking at it. Not much. I don't think anything can particularly change from the Euro Tour this weekend. So I think it's pretty much set, which says to me there's a couple of issues maybe with teams or players that they're trying to get resolved, boys. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's potential issues if they haven't contacted certain players. So If we're down to that, Gary still hasn't been contacted in the releasing the Scotland team, and then he's not in there. There's even bigger questions. So yeah, I'm expecting an announcement soon, but I think we was expecting that to already be here.
Well, yeah, I think we'll get it.
Short of
Go.
Short of the World Championships, this is an absolute logistical nightmare for a world that is still feeling the effects of COVID restrictions, because you're expecting these players to travel for potentially 4 legs. At least if players are travelling for the World Championships, A, it's a sizable whack of prize money, and B, they play for a little bit longer. You can ask somebody to quarantine for a week in the UK ahead of the World Championship. You can't really ask somebody to do it in the middle of Jena, which, by the way, is an absolute ball ache to get to from anywhere not in Germany itself, for potentially a doubles match that lasts 30 seconds.
Whilst we are also on the World Cup, keep them coming in as well, guys. Sad news that I was looking forward to this pair more than anything, but it's not going to happen. I was looking forward to Boris and Dmitry Gorbanov, but it was announced last week that Dmitry will not play because of quarantine issues and everything like that. So, again, the Russian team is going to change. Surely the Spanish team, there's no way Chris Reyes is going to play, surely.
Probably not. that's an understatement.
Yeah. So,
it's just going to be nightmares all over. You've got the players trying to come in from Asia. You've got the difficulties coming in from North America and the quarantine that those guys are going to be under, because there's no, because the fact it's Euro Tour and World Series and stuff, there is no Pro Tours for these guys to come back to the UK to hang around in that they can quarantine for, test to release and do that sort of thing. There's no other opportunity for some of these guys to earn money. If you're doing it as a little bit of a jet around and you're going from hotel to hotel, you can make a case for it, like I said, but these guys literally flying into Germany and then straight back out again.
Yeah.
Johnny, you're a bad man.
There's one here from D-Style. Says, what about players who are not vaccinated? In most countries, they have to quarantine, which could cause a problem. I've been told that if you are not vaccinated, you cannot play.
Correct.
That's the ruling that I've been told, that if you are not vaccinated, you cannot play. So anyone that plays in the World Cup will have to be vaccinated.
Malik, you can't play, mate. Ponytail and terrible throat. Alexander Oreshkin, and he got banned from darts, didn't he, last year?
Yes.
Didn't he beat Kyle at a World Cup? Australia versus Russia. It's a horrific game.
Possibly. You're Googling it now, aren't you?
Oreshkin suspended by EADC for failing to pay part of prize money from 2018 World Cup of Darts. Yes.
Oh.
You sure
Yeah.
that's the year that he took it to the pairs against Australia?
So there we go. So that's pretty much the World Cup done and dusted. Hopefully, well, I think we have to have the seedings this week. I think I think we have to have them this week before the Euro Tour.
Yeah, this is an event we're talking about that's 10 days away.
Next weekend.
Yeah, it starts a week Thursday. It surprises me, like I say, it's totally surprised me that there isn't any sort of announcement, and with the news from Gary's manager as well, I'll be very, very surprised, Dodd says, if Latvia not even pulled up as a reserve. I think we'll see. We'll see them in there, if potentially not one more.
Yeah. Evening, Mark. Hope you are all good. Right, some more news from the PDC this week. This time, some better news and some good news. We will continue to see this place on the calendar as a deal. It's probably been done for a while. They just announced it at this time of year that the Players' Championship finals and the UK Open will stay in Minehead until at least 2023. Boys, I know you're happy about it, Gob.
I love a bit of Minehead. Jar's probably very, very happy at home if he sat watching this. He probably was when the announcement came out as well. Look, it's fantastic. It just makes sense. It's a proper good weekend. The fact there's more things to do there than just the darts as well. You can nip in and out of all the different rooms, and there's entertainment on site and everything else that goes with it. It just makes complete sense. It's a weekend experience rather than 4 sessions of darts.
Yeah, no, I get that. Lau, we said that earlier that Madas Razma was far from happy on social media about only being a reserve. So yeah, Latvia are our first reserves. Yeah, look, I know everyone loves Minehead. I'm probably the minority, but I prefer the Reebok. There you go, I said it. All in one room.
University of Bolton Stadium now. Thank you, Mr. Bars.
It'll always be Reebok to me.
I've been to Minehead for the players, but not for the UK Open. I've been to Bolton for the UK Open. I love Bolton for the UK Open, but so I'm with you on that. I would be definitely there, but for the Players' Championships, I would be keeping that at Minehead. It is a great weekend, absolutely great weekend.
Oh look, commercially, 100%.
I loved it all in the one room.
Oh look, commercially, it's a no-brainer, and I get the commercial logistics of why it's in Butlins and everything like that. But me personally, I'm also not a fan of 2 tournaments in the same venue as well. Where if you want to use Butlins, for me, have one at Minehead, one in Skegness or Bognor. Use one of the other Butlins venues.
Are you just trying to pick another venue where there might be a pop world nearby? Is that what you're doing there, PB?
Or the fact that Bognor's on the south coast and not too far away.
I'm happy for it not to go to Skegness. Stay to that.
Skegness?
Oh, mate, don't even go there.
Where PB wanted the Euros finals, wasn't he? You did say Stead Vegas, didn't you? That's the Vegas.
Stead Vegas. To be fair, had a good night out with Chin in Skeg Vegas after an exhibition one night. Hilarious. Which was all good. Yeah, I love the Circus Tavern as well, 100%. So let's bring this one up. The Paddy, how are you all doing? Just in time for me to show you this. This was a bit special, boys, wasn't it? This raised the roof. The madman himself, the Mad Hatter, the original Prince of Wales on the Lively, did this.
Game on. It reminds me of one of the greatest Richie Burnett sayings that has been uttered out loud.
180.
As he gets his second 180 of the match and levels up with Scott in that statistic. 4 180s for our first match 55. Of the night. So far, there's quite some going. We had 26 180s in total last night, and I think we might get something fairly similar. Oh, we've got another one from Burnett, though.
180.
We'll come back to that story about Richie Burnett a little bit later, because last night he had a crack at this.
128. Richie
didn't get dart 8.
141.
He's got the 60. He's got the 45. Double 18. Richie
There
Burnett
is
hits a
on the
9-darter.
six-leg.
Get in there, the Prince of
Richie
Wales.
Burnett.
He would hope it is for the match, but it is to take us all the way. And Mr. Perfect Richie Burnett, the winner of Phase 2, plants the
Seventh and final
9.
leg, it's Scott to throw first.
What a moment, gentlemen. Almost placed to precision, every single one of them.
A bit good, that. The man's mad, by the way. And I've only really known from what I see in this box. The fact you spend time with him week in, week out pretty much at the minute, he must come up with some spectacular things because he just looks completely mad. It's just bonkers.
Genuinely, he has the practice room in tears. Absolute tears. So funny. It is unreal. But it's the throw as well. It's the back leg comes out and...
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, we was talking about 9-darters and our best 9-darters, obviously, that we've seen. Just watching that 9-darter, and we talked about the Richie Tam. If you look at the release, and if people watch it back, look at the release, and how he finishes after the third dart of the first 118, the third dart on the second 118. There's both completely different stances. To be able to put all 9 of those darts perfectly, it is so good to watch. Hopefully, we'll see many more from him. And overall, he had a very good week. But yeah, it's just so good to see Richie Burnett, and good to see him playing well. More importantly, hopefully we'll see a lot more of him.
And he's qualified for Champions Week again. The man just knows what to do. But massive word for Jared Cole, who won the group and played so well all week.
Yeah, I mean, this time last week, we sat here and said, who do we fancy for making Champions Week last week and going deep? And I said, Jared Cole is in prime position because he'd just gone 5 out of 5. He then went 5 out of 5 again and then picked up another 2 wins, I think it was, on the final day.
Yeah.
Just coasted all week. He looked so smooth. But I got told he was in absolutely no position whatsoever in the chat room. I was like, the kid literally went and smashed everything and anyone in his way. He was absolutely superb all week. Thoroughly deserved the win.
Yeah, I know he was in the chat room earlier. I'm not sure if he still is now, but Connor Scott's 157 to beat Mike Warburton in a last leg shootout when Warby was sat on 56, I think it was. Absolute stones.
Was that after he broke his point and had to throw with some Simon Whitlocks as well?
Yeah, that was on the Friday. He broke a point, and he played. I might get this round the wrong way, and I'm sure he'll say it in there. If not, I'm sure he played with 2 22-gram darts and 1 24-gram dart because he had a set of 22s and a set of 24s. Whitlocks, both the same, obviously dart, but different weights. But couldn't get the point sorted in time. But lucky enough, Mr. Whitlock doesn't live too far away from the studio, and Connor got sorted out for the Saturday.
Played well, though. Played very well, did Connor.
Yeah.
It's a good week.
Completely. It was good. Couple of questions about the live league in the chat room. Someone says, what's the name of the caller? That is Mr. Owen Binks. And feel free to abuse him on social media because he came out with some absolute stupid sayings in the production room beforehand. Tried telling us that Coldplay are better than Oasis. Oh, my dear me.
Not only did he do that, Nico then called him out on the stream, which then went on to socials. Then he doubled down on it. And then when he was losing the battle on Twitter, went and doubled down on it on his Facebook as well, the silly sod.
So, yeah, no, Owen, but no, he's a great lad. Feel free to follow him on Twitter and Instagram, Mr. Owen Binks, doing a top job
he's
there.
He's a great lad, but he's an absolute moron when it comes to music.
Oh, completely.
By the way, Dub. By the way, I agree with him. Just point it out there.
You what?
I agree with him.
All right, where's the eject button? Yeah.
Wedding last week.
Sure.
Chat stupid stuff this week.
Johnny says, how does the library work? Seems to be going on forever. It's done in 5-week cycles, mate. So there's 4 weeks of play to qualify for Champions Week, and then the 5th week is Champions Week. The winner on the Saturday gets a cool £7,000 now. And then the not the same players, but then the cycle then starts again. So it's 5-week cycles to determine that. And it says, will the seniors tour be on TV? Yes, it will. I like how the World Seniors are just drip feeding us little teasers every couple of weeks of something new. So no doubt that the TV announcement will be there in due course. But yes, 100% it will be on TV. But yeah, just going back obviously to today as well, that Mace was talking about earlier. Good to see Wolfie back playing. Started a bit slow, but a couple of 97 averages once he'd warmed the shoulder up, which was good. But the two Hennigan brothers were sensational.
Yeah, been a really good day so far. It's a nice, interesting little balance this week, I think. Oh no!
Yeah. Oh, massively.
We're not quoting Coldplay songs in the chat room now. Come on now.
Mo says maybe they should just put up to 12k every week. Saldor says, why can't Fallon play Champions Week? Isn't the same week as the ladies tour? Didn't say it was.
Next.
Yes, Scott. She was just unavailable for this cycle, but Fallon will be back in phase 5, no doubt whatsoever. But I'm still laughing at Mace. So I think that's just about a week in darts. I don't think we've missed anything significant, have we, boys?
Not that I can think of.
No official announcement, by the way, but Glamorgan versus Lancashire County Darts is now back on the schedule.
Is it?
Yes. So after them being removed, after trying to set up a singles league and then the affiliated Super League, an agreement has been reached, I believe, with the UKDA that then allows Glamorgan back into the county setup, and their first game against Lancashire is now on the 17th and 18th, as is everybody else's, which is getting closer, by the way. A lot of Super League teams, players going in, county selection coming up for 2 weeks' time, 2.5 weeks' time now.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Just for old time's sake, because we know that Gob likes this one.
I'm going to vomit.
So I say we've covered a week in darts. I don't think we've missed anything massively. So chat room is open as always. It's your time to get your questions in. We can answer it. We will. If we can't, we'll give you some sort of answer that fills a gap.
Or we'll just lie to you because it's funny and you'll never know the difference.
So, yeah, one from Zig says, do you know how Ted Hankey is? Is he all good? Looking forward to the seniors event? Yeah, I think he's all right. I haven't seen him throw recently, but I believe he's down to play in Selsey. Or have I made that up? I'm sure I've seen Ted in the pentathlon list for Selsey.
No, I don't know.
So I'm sure it's the same weekend as the PDC World Cup, so we could have a better understanding around then how Ted is. Any news on the Welsh Darts Open? No, I haven't heard anything. Gob, I know that you've got your ear to the ground a little bit more. Anything on the Welsh?
No. I know nothing.
One person that may be able to, I know Mason's in the chat room, I know his other half, Charlotte, was playing, was it mixed doubles with Nathan Gervin in the Welsh? So he might know if there's any more news on it. Henry says, could we see Online Darts Live League champ of all phase winners, WDF majors winners, male and female, mad bout holders, and the world seniors champ? I'll tell you what, I like the idea of that.
Some of them might cross over though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that. Great shout, Henry.
For a week,
Love that stuff. I'm trying to find the question though. I just saw the CM Punk in the chat room, sorry. By the way, how good was that still? CM Punk's return. Ooh.
Phill,
Yeah?
grow up.
just what I was about to say.
All I'm saying is just look at the numbers it does on social media.
Like, plenty of people in the world still believe in fairies. It doesn't make it worthwhile, does it?
I'm not going to lie. I
To
like
be honest, most of them are bloody American as well.
May says it's still going ahead as far as she's been told. There you go, everyone. That's not the gospel, but as far as we know, the World Champion is going ahead as it should have been. DJ Tony is in, guys. If the World Cup was arm wrestling, who would win? Gezi would be in there.
Would he though?
Yeah. You seen him some of his Instagram posts when he's benching in the gym?
But you've got to put them as
but
pairs.
There's
It's how much
big old boys.
it's how much you fancying Johnny Clayton to match up with him as it's a pairs.
To be fair, Aaron Monk, but I know he hasn't got a talk card, but he's unbelievable at arm wrestling, to be fair to him.
If you put Aaron Monk with someone like, if you put someone like Aaron Monk with Michael Smith, then England might win the World Cup.
Kirchmann, definitely.
Oh, Big Bad Boris, yeah.
Or Koltsov.
Yeah, 100.
We wouldn't want anything to do with the Russians in any sport that involves strength or lifting.
Yeah. There we go, I've done that one. Ollie says, other than Ali Pali, where do you think is best suited place for the World Championships? I think they've got it bang on, to be fair.
Just because it's London.
Yeah, right.
Look, London in December works well.
It would still have to be a London arena, though. The only other place you could possibly think is somewhere maybe like the Copper Box or Wembley Arena, maybe. But is that too big? How many does Wembley hold?
No, I don't think Wembley Arena's too big.
I think that could be the next step up because you've already got the high seating around anyway, haven't you? So it'll just be tabling out the floor, but can they get enough light in there? Because from experience of going to Wembley, it's quite dark in there, in Wembley Arena. Whereas Ali Pali is quite a big, bright, open space, and I don't like the Premier League view where you just get the big, dark arenas.
I think it might be too big currently. Potentially looking at the earlier rounds.
Yeah.
But hopefully it doesn't move from Ali Pali.
Yeah, no, I think they put it bang on at Ali Pali, to be fair. So, yeah. What else have we got? Yeah, Mason's answer. Yeah. The Indigo at the O2, Des Jackson knew it was a master plan.
Chuck an Oasis reference in there for you bums as well that think Coldplay's better. Get out.
We love an Oasis pun, don't we, Boise?
No, move on.
Daniel says, Phil, would you go on I'm a Celeb? Absolutely.
I mean, I love the question, Dan, but we are never, ever getting that big, are we?
No, but yeah, look, if I was asked, of course.
Yeah, but I would go with Davies and say, yeah, I will, but only when it's moved back to Australia. I don't know if it's to Wales for 3 weeks. Nothing up with Wales, but I don't know they're in that castle for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
put me in Australia and I'm all up for that.
Yeah, for 3 weeks in Australia. Yeah, 3 weeks in Australia. I'm well up for that. So yeah. Jamie, the Sky contract is up in 2024, I believe. So we all know who Eddie's favourite broadcaster is at the moment.
Is it BT?
They might be one and the same soon. To be fair, it's everywhere on social media anyway. Let's talk about it all over the place. It's not really a secret anymore. Raven says, Alan Moore and Little and Dieter got invited to the World Seniors. Yes, they were the two that have come in for, obviously, Tony David can't travel, can't play. He still hopes to be there, but not going to be well enough to play. And obviously Andy Fordham had to be replaced after his passing. So yeah, Alan Moore and Little and Dieter Hedman get the invites. Again, I think they've got that about right as well, boys. I know a lot of people are going to say Ronnie Baxter and but you're not going to keep everyone happy, and they're two good choices.
Yeah. And we've spoken about this before, but the first one, they're good additions media-wise as well. They've both been in and around that side of the game for a little bit too, which will just add to production and all of that, and a couple of interviews maybe, and if they go out early they can jump on commentary, and just having them around the venue, guarantee that they're in the building, makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think everyone had different 16s. For me, Dieter would have been in the 16 initially. Everyone had different 16s of who they would have, and like I said, you've just touched on a couple of names like Ronnie Baxter and that, who certain people, but for me, Dieter's he's a great addition in there.
And to be fair, I know there's a lot of Ronnie Baxter love. You may just see Ronnie Baxter on a stream sometime soon. just saying that. Missy said next year RTL not broadcaster anymore. No, RTL lost the rights in Holland to the zone equivalent in this, another streaming outlet in Holland.
Correct.
2 qualifiers for the World Seniors. Paul Hogan's a shoo-in. Yeah, look, Paul Hogan does like a qualifier, boys. We all know that from the UK Open, doesn't he?
Certainly does. Certainly does. But some of the names that we've seen in those qualifiers who have come out already and said that they're entering, or we've seen on social media, it's certainly going to be an interesting qualifying, and that's before the event. And I know it's an event all three of us are really looking forward to, but the qualifying itself will be very, very interesting.
Yeah. Jonathan says, if one darts player had to have a boxing match with a snooker player, who would it be? Look, I'm not massive. I'm a armchair snooker fan. When Ronnie or Judd Trump are on, I'll watch it. If they're not in, I normally switch it off. But seeing Mark Williams play just about every other sport going, we'll stick him in.
No, I reckon Mark Allen can handle himself.
Oh, I forgot about Mark Allen. Yeah, good point.
That's who I was thinking, Dob, but it's who I'm
Forgot about
partnering
Mark
up
Allen.
with.
Oh,
Because I
as
think
well.
that's
I
really
don't
one
know
hell
of the squad.
how
The
awkward was
rest
that
of them
game.
just was horrendous.
Oh,
Horrific.
Yeah, it was a difficult watch. It was a couple of Mondays ago. So we was on the stream, but I recorded it and then watched it the following day. And I knew the result by then, but I couldn't take my eyes off watching it.
I finished it, ran straight to the living room and put it on the telly. I was like, "Oh my god, this is horrendous."
yeah, it was a horrific watch, but makes good TV.
And that was only what 5 frames. If we did that in a different event and we that 19, maybe then that was only that a bit more awkward for everyone.
Yeah. Missy says it's madness, Phil. How did they know it was going with? I'm guessing there was some sort of. I know there was some sort of bidding process because I'm not going to drop him in it, but I have a good relationship with someone that works for RTL, so they knew that the bidding process was on, and this other firm bid more money than RTL. Same as when BT got the Champions League from Sky Sports and everything like that. These things ultimately come down to money, boys, when it comes to broadcasting.
Yeah, we're well aware with that. We spoke about it before. All about the money.
It's all about the dollar. Jamie says, guys, if all dart players had to play with the same standard darts, who would be the best? Probably Peter Wright, because he can throw just about everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It depends what you define as a standard set of darts.
All right, we're going straight barrel.
Straight barrel,
Standard.
ring grip. Eric Bristow-esque. Rob Cross throws them already. He's got a massive advantage. Glenn Dorrit next throws similar. A.D. Lewis is throwing them at one time or another. Gary Anderson throws straight barrels. Lee doesn't like the sound of this conversation.
Yeah, Lee's done a goal.
Bless him. He's going to repent for his sins for saying Coldplay are better than Oasis. That's what it is.
Yeah. We said earlier, Alan Warren is in the seniors. It says I'm taller than Darren Webster. Most people are. The little pocket rocket.
I'm sat down and I'm taller than Darren Webster.
Jonathan says, what potential third round matches stand out for you in Hungary based off the seeded players? So third round, if we're going off just the seeds. I don't know about
1 and 6.
I don't know about third round, but quarterfinals, MVG going Price.
Is that really a standout?
Yeah.
Price has beat him 3 times in his entire career.
But Price is world number 1 and world champion.
Don't care.
To be fair, Joe Cullen
for
for Aspinall.
For third round, the top, the 1 and 16, and then 6 and 11 at the bottom in Smith and Dirt, and then Cullen and Aspinall are the 2 for me. Stand out.
Yeah.
I think looking at the rest.
Nah, nothing really. They they're the ones for me. Who has the worst hairstyle in darts, excluding Peter Wright?
Camp House, he's got a ponytail. Peter Oreshkin, Whitlock, not a fan of a ponytail, as you can guess. Ryan Searle doesn't even put his in a ponytail.
Not a fan of the dreads, Gob.
No.
Yeah. Interesting. I see the Peter's going to get the dates up a minute as well. So. There's quite a lot of plugging going on at the moment around next year's Premier League as well. Starting off in Cardiff. Interesting that they've turned it around a little bit this year. Normally we see doubling towards the start. That's near the end. Big gamble on the hydro being night 14. Because potentially we could lose Gary or Peter before then.
Or both.
Yeah. That'd be a shock. But yeah, interesting the way they're dotted around this or next year, Gob, the Premier League cities.
Yeah. I don't like some of the venues, going to be completely honest. I think
I'm
too big. Some of the arenas that double up as ice hockey venues, Nottingham, Sheffield, just the big bowl style with the stage at the front. They're just too big. The noise just gets lost. Can't even see it.
Yeah, and on those, Dob, I've spoken about it before. I'm not a huge fan of what sort of atmosphere we did at Birmingham, and their Birmingham's Judgment Night. And I know we don't always that a Judgment Night, which we like. Sometimes it's just renamed as Night 9. But if it is a Judgment Night with a lot riding on it, it's not the venue I would pick. And there's quite a few in there I wouldn't, but Birmingham certainly isn't one I would pick for that.
I guess some of these venues are let down by the lack of a home hero, if you like. Even when we've had the challengers, the likes of Nottingham and Sheffield didn't have a real homegrown talent, somebody from Nottingham there for people to support. We had Nathan Aspinall and Fallon Sherrock. That's Stockport and Milton Keynes, for Christ's sake.
Well, let's go through the venues while we're there. Look, Cardiff is always good. Cardiff's always rocking.
I think that's
Big fan. That's number one.
World champion.
But yeah, Cardiff
won.
won.
Johnny will be going there as reigning champ, won't he? So that'd be big for them.
Yeah, Liverpool 2. The Echo is always good. Fan of the Echo.
Yes.
The SS Arena in Belfast, again, always jumping. But they've had Daryl Gurney there the last few years to get behind as well. Will it be the same? Yes, I think so, because there's not a lot of darts. Well, there's no other darts, is there, in Belfast across the year. So I'd expect that one to be good.
Yeah.
Mercedes-Benz Arena, that's class. Big fan.
Not being there, but yeah. We're looking at you here, Bazzi, because the rest of us just do this working from home business. You go all jet setting.
Yeah, but you said what they're like from a TV point of view, where I don't get to see that part of it. So it's how they come across on TV as well.
So no, I'm normally pissed off playing darts on that time.
The Cattle Shed in Exeter, horrendous. That arena in Bristol can't come soon enough.
Behave. The Cattle Shed's fantastic.
No.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's if that's because I sat near the front, but actually, like, the view, even from the stands down the side and whatever, is so much better than you get at like the big bowl arenas. It's class. Did
you go to the sheep shearing shed?
No, I went to the bar though. That was interesting. That was
This is an interesting one that they've brought back, and I don't think this one works. The Brighton Centre, not a fan of this one.
Nope. Don't like it. Don't like it.
Yeah. For
What
me,
have you
doesn't work.
dropped?
Nottingham Motorpoint Arena. I know you're not a fan of this one, go, are you?
Look, it's just big. It's probably just too big, but then there isn't a lot that you could replace it with. But we have quite a few in and around. We have the Notts, we have the Sheffield, we've got the Morningside in Leicester would probably be a better Premier League venue, but it doesn't hold as many people, and obviously that's what the Premier League is all about. But there is going to become a point where I think the draw of going to the darts just for a night out is going to start diminishing.
The Ahoy. No further questions, Your Honour. That's great on TV and being there.
Yeah,
The Orange
I'd like to
Army.
switch that one. I'd like to have switched nights 8 and 9 round.
One at the Ahoy Judgment Night.
Yeah, I just think if it's Judgment Night, you need that atmosphere, and then even if it's just a night 9, as we know, Ahoy's always. I've never been there, but from a TV point of view, it's always a fantastic atmosphere from start to finish.
Then Birmingham, again, I'm not a huge fan of the Birmingham Arena.
Neither of the Brummies.
No. Leeds is a weird one because I've been to Leeds and it was really good, but then went there. I think it was night 5. No, it was night 16, but the top 4 was already done and it was really flat.
I'm not sure that's the arena's fault. It's normally decent. Aren't they one of the top? A couple of years ago, they were fascinated with trying to see which was the noisiest venue.
Noisiest, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Leeds was well up there. So
yeah. Manchester Arena, always good, and a good night out afterwards as well. Controversially, the P&J, not a fan. The old arena, absolutely loved it. But this new one, don't get me wrong, yes, it looks amazing. But for you boys, again, watching on TV, from Hendo 1 to Hendo 2, big difference in the crowd.
yeah. The problem is that they'd already done that as well. Then they basically went, let's do the same thing and try and get the same response. The first time they did it, it was so different to anything we'd seen before. It had that rousing effect. Like they just added a little bit to it, and I think people were expecting it, and it didn't, because it didn't have the element of surprise and the natural, oh my god, look at this reaction. I think that's why that struggled a little bit as well.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. That Dublin is one of the best Premier League arenas, bar none. I say to anyone, if you could pick one of them, one of the Ahoy or Dublin for me, just class. The Hydro, again, always a good atmosphere in the Hydro, unless you're Gezi.
Okay.
Sheffield, again, doesn't really work for me. I know, obviously, you live up that way, Gob, and it's too far out of the city for me.
It's a carbon copy arena of Nottingham as well. I've been there to watch ice hockey. I haven't been there for the darts, I'll be honest, but I've been there to watch ice hockey games, and it's just exactly the same.
The O2 doesn't work. I get that it's a huge statement to say there's darts at the O2, but too big. No atmosphere.
Wembley Arena would be better.
Yeah. But I'm interested to see
However,
finals night
PB on that.
in the 2.
PB just on that one, it's good to see the O2 is in the finals night now.
Yeah.
Agree with that decision for that to be moved.
Yeah. Finals night in the tune could be a little bit lively, boys.
Of the two.
Yeah, but it could be good, or it should be amazing.
I'd like to say
Everything
the
else-
Spoon's a good night out, but I wasn't allowed in Wetherspoons of all places, so I won't know.
Oh, top night out. Off the back of the Premier League chat, Henry, good question here. Where would be the next country to host the Premier League night?
Belgium.
Prague.
The thing is, it can't be too far away because the chances are that when it returns on the Thursday night, the guys have then got to be back ready for potentially either Euro Tour qualifiers on the Friday night or a Pro Tour ready to go Saturday morning. So the turnaround time really can't be that big. You can't expect the Premier League players to just miss out on the Pro Tour order, which is ranked cash. Yeah, right. You earn a bucket load for being in the Premier League.
Or you're just clever and you just put a Euro Tour event on after it that's not too far away.
Potentially. But then you're banking on the Premier League field player being a seed. Otherwise, they start on a Friday afternoon, leaving Thursday night, depending on flights, would have to get there Friday morning to play.
They just
Friday
do it
afternoon.
so they play. They just do it so they play Friday night. Because I remember a few years ago, someone in the chat room will help me out, but they were in Belfast on the Thursday, and this happened to someone that they weren't seeded, and they actually, I think it was either 2 or 3 flights to be somewhere in Germany for Friday. So it has happened before, and if you're already on continental Europe, it's easier then to do.
Yeah.
Any for you, Boise, where you'd like to see?
I can't think. Predominantly, when we see the new ones, if it's not in the UK, it's from where they've come from the Euro Tour, but I can't think of any that are standing out at the moment. Obviously, also though I look at the players that would we see one in Belgium, as Dobb said, Portugal. But for me, we need to see more of them. We need to see more of them on the Euro Tour first before we see them as a Premier League venue, just to make sure we're not going to a venue where we don't have that atmosphere, because we see with Ahoy and Berlin that we do that, but they're tried and tested from Euro Tours. So
thinking about what you've just said there, there's a logical one here, Copenhagen. Because they've done Euro Tour, they've now got a World Series. If that goes well, the next step would be something like that.
But they don't have a home player to really hammer it back.
But I'm not sure that's needed, but you've got to make sure that venue's tested. Does Germany don't?
But in the Premier League, Germany don't either. But it still sells.
Yeah, but that's just seen a ridiculous boom that we haven't seen in any other country. That the boom that German darts are taking on is almost bigger than the Dutch boom. Arguably, it is right now.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. Whilst we're on that same sort of subject then, which UK town or city would you like introduced into the Premier League calendar?
Don't I first of all move the venue in Birmingham to another arena? I think one there, but just not at that arena.
Don't really know.
No, neither do I. Have you got one in mind, PB?
No, I'm just trying to think as well. I genuinely think, I don't know what arenas are there. A lot of love for the South Coast. Yeah, I'm on board with Southampton. Would be good. Portsmouth, that'd be decent. No, the East Coast in general doesn't get much darts, does it?
Norwich way.
Yeah. Norwich, Ipswich.
Is
I feel
there
like
any
Norwich has
venues
got
of...
a decent representation at like lower levels. Like a lot of the YouTube darts folk are from around that area, from what I can gather.
Yeah.
Bristol will already have one because that will replace.
Bristol will have one. I think Bristol from 2023 will replace Exeter if all goes well.
The only other thing, there's not really a lot there. But the only other option really is somewhere between maybe Birmingham and London. But that would be like Reading or Oxford, but there's not a lot there. Or you just go Milton Keynes, and even that's a bit of a trek for those guys.
Bring back Bournemouth.
You just want more on the south coast.
Yeah.
How about we get a different Ashby Delazouche, just so we can say it, and everyone be like, "Where are we this year? What country are we in?" And we're like, "Oh, just outside of Leicester."
If we're doing it on that, then yeah, I'm happy to move one to Leicester, one to Wolverhampton. That'd be perfect for me.
Do you want one in Walsall as well, while we're there?
Not really anyway, Ethan. Not really anyway, Ethan. Have it unless you want to have it at Bestett Stadium and have it as an outdoor one.
Great. I got Cardiff, behave. I don't mind Yarmouth on that coach, but the problem with Yarmouth is I'm not sure if they've got a big enough arena because everything pretty much just goes to Vauxhall, doesn't it? And in order to fill it, you pretty much need the entire capacity of the town of Yarmouth to go to this to make it worth it for TV.
Would you potentially move one to a venue that's already used for something else, i.e. Blackpool or
no,
not Minehead, but another site?
The Civic could work. Yeah, interesting thought. There was a question in here. Whereabouts have it? Just try and find it up. There it is. Liam says, when is the World Cup draw happening, chaps? Now there's the $64,000 million question. We don't even know the pairings yet, mate, let alone the draw. One step at a time. Dad says, Phil, any idea who's in the World Series? And also, when is the World Cup draw? World Cup draw, we've just said we don't know. The World Series, I've got an idea, but I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. You can pretty much work out, I think, who's going to be there.
Oh, Phil.
Right there, Gob.
Phil.
What?
Bad man. We expect people that have been previously named in this lineup to remain in the lineup.
Well, maybe not all of them.
I'm sorry, do we?
Some will. I think there'll be a few changes. But one name I expect still to be there, yes, correct.
Does Lee know? Have we told him?
We briefly spoke a couple of weeks back, so I'm assuming so.
Yeah. Question says, Missy says, one for the Mad Hatters. Is there a show this weekend because of the Euro Tour? There'll be one on Monday. I'm on the ridiculously early flight back to make sure I'm back in time so we can still do everything on the Monday. I think I fly back about 6 in the morning, I think.
6:30 only exists as PM in my world.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one normally, to be fair. I says, Phil, do you fancy Chris Mason to come through the qualifiers from the World Seniors? What I saw him throwing down at the Live League studio the other week, got a huge chance. 180s for fun we're going in. So if you can get a decent...
Yeah, the entries for that qualifying event are just ridiculous. Like I said, it seems like it's an event within itself, some of the names that are in that, and it's just how much time they're putting in.
Yeah. But yeah, Mace looked good. Jamie says an idea for the Premier League: have a celebrity darts match each week. For example, in Manchester, Ronaldo versus Phill Taylor. I don't dislike that idea of having some sort of exhibition game on a Premier League night as well, because some nights, just for me, the Premier League doesn't offer value for money. It's over too early. Some nights, 9:30, 10:15, it's done.
Especially for the non-TV crowd. I mean, we've seen it at other events. We've seen Alistair Cook versus Jimmy Anderson a couple of times. You saw Frank Lampard versus... Who did Frank play at the Worlds? And then we've seen Jack Mate versus Pieface as well. Not against it at all if you're in the venue. Seeing that as a quick warm-up thing. It allows the referees
Jimmy Anderson
to set the work in.
I'm sure there's one at the High, wasn't there, with AJ and Flintoff, part of a lead of their own. Sure, that was at the High about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite like the idea of having something, because I just think that sometimes the Premier League doesn't offer value for money because it's over too quickly. For me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. That's good. Right, people coming in, guys.
Would completely do away with phase 2 of the Premier League. Everybody play each other once, and then the top 4 go to finals night.
Commercially, that doesn't make sense, though, Bob.
I know it doesn't, but as a spectator, it's like,
so
I don't want to see the race again over a leg, and it's just not worth it.
In that sense, then, would you extend how many players are in it?
Possibly. I might look to put 12 in it and just play 11 nights.
But then, I guess with that, you have an awful lot of dead rubbers early on in that.
Maybe.
I like the idea that players get a wild card that they can use whenever they want, and they get double points when they choose to play it. But flip the coin, if you lose, you minus 2 points.
Yeah, but I don't want to pick on certain players who have gone into the Premier League not in form. But it's definitely a confidence blow if everyone's picking you. Week in, week out.
Yeah, just think,
Keep
if you're beating them, you're picking up double points and they're getting minus.
Yeah. But we've seen a few players over the years who, when it's certainly done to the back end of their run, that we know we're not going to see the form. But I'm all for something like it. Just going to certainly be a bit of a dig on someone's confidence if they're picked week in, week out.
Yeah, it's just ideas to freshen up. Because I agree, the Premier League does need to freshen, but it's just how you do that. Which would be good. Sam says, I used to get a TV pass for some nights, but it's not worth the money. Yeah, completely agree. Flintoff's commentary for MTV's 9 Data was unreal. Yeah, I'd like Freddie back in the comms half cut again.
Well, he wouldn't anymore because he's teetotal, but I do like Freddie. I think he's the new breed of broadcaster, isn't he? Where he's just that little bit more entertaining to it. I was watching Ben Foster recently talking about how mainstream media is going to change and how the new generation prefer to take in content from YouTube and people like that and popular people on there rather than sit and watch Sky Sports News all day, and how that'll change the future. It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, no, look, I agree. I think we can. You can see that broadcasting is changing from the way DAZN do stuff as well, and it is massively changing.
Yeah. Tell you what I really dislike, though. What I really dislike is Sky's absolute insistence right now that every outside broadcaster do at any venue is basically the pundits and host standing. There's no desk, no sat behind, no studio, no nothing. They're always pitch side or whatever. I saw at the cricket, we've seen it at the football, we've seen it at the darts even, and the darts looked really, really poorly presented, I'll be honest. from that shot up on the balcony at Blackpool. It looked poor.
Yeah, so they used to sit down like in that an oval shape, didn't they, with the thing like the studio behind them and that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree.
I'm not sure if that's COVID and they're not allowed that many people in a room and they're just progression through that. But some of it looks really, really untidy. Don't like it.
But back to that, the seating worked for me at the Worlds. Obviously, normally we'll have fans in there, but the seating in there worked for me. So it was very strange that I agree with you totally on that one, Doc. It just seemed it doesn't look right.
So yeah, Jamie says, "What is your favourite commentary on all night darts team?" Favourite commentary? Get in trouble there.
Jar's the man for commentary. I'll be completely honest. You can sit here and quote word for word.
Look, Rod Studd's right up there. Some of Rod Studd's lines are top draw.
It has to be Taylor's second on the night, doesn't it? That's the best commentating 9 ever. Or even Freddie Flintoff's, to be honest. Freddie Flintoff's of Van Gerwen, that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also liked Rod Studd's on Gary Anderson's first world title.
Glory, glory, Gary Anderson.
Gary Anderson. Yeah. There's a few. Scrapbook says, does anyone know how many sets of Peter Wright owns? Thousands. There's a few videos on YouTube that the PDC have done when he's in his man cave, and there's just darts everywhere.
Yeah, if we think the World Cup pairings is the $1 million question, I would probably say how many darts does Peter Wright own is probably that question. Because that number could be absolutely anything.
Yeah, thousands, I think. Henry said they didn't at the Old Firm yesterday. I think that was mainly so John Harston didn't get smashed up. I don't think they trusted the Rangers fans with John Hartson pitchside. At least if they put a wall and some glass between them. Sam says, do you think Sky Sports will change their model if sport such as darts goes to streaming apps? I think Sky have to change their model at some point, because just the way the younger generation consume content now isn't through a TV anymore. Mm-hmm. How the likes of my age do. I think that whole consumption of content is different now, boys.
Well, even I was looking in the back end of our data the other day, and I'm actually quite surprised at the amount of people over 30 that sit and watch our content. They make up a massive percentage. A lot of YouTube audiences, stereotypically, right, there's a massive male and female balance, I'll be completely honest, but a lot of what you see from YouTube creators, unless it's something specifically designed for children and learning, is under the age of 24. That category takes up a massive, massive hit. It's good for us, but actually the next 3 are equally pretty decent in waiting for people that sit and watch our content. So even that is moving away from your traditional TV. And the thing is, I think these big media groups are seeing it. Like the trending pages on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and that. And now these big companies are paying fortunes to be in that trending page as a sponsored link, rather than to get there organically, that's the word. And they're just pushing content to YouTube now because that's where everybody is.
Yeah. No, agreed. So, yeah, I think we are just about there, boys. I think I think we answered just about everything as we come up towards 10 p.m. Anything that you boys want to add to the show before we start rounding things off?
Just, I guess, a thank you to anybody that's got involved with it so far, and a quick reminder to everybody that Damon Hetter's raffle is still going on until, I think, tomorrow is the closing date for it, and then they're looking at it Wednesday and Thursday to draw. Follow Damon Hetter on social media, on Facebook or on Twitter to find out how to get involved. You can't take PayPal anymore, but he'll be able to give you his bank details. It's £10 English or 1860 Australian dollars, I think, for the ticket after the exchange rates are worked out. So if you want to get involved in that, all the money's going to Carl's family to help get him home and give him a send off, and for his young family that he's leaving behind. So yeah, go and have a look at that and get involved if you can.
Yeah, massively agree. Done an absolute cracking job. Remember, it's a busy week of darts. We've got the Live League on all week. We've got the PDC Euro Tour, Challenge Tour, all going on as well. Like I said, I will be going out to Budapest to bring you content from the European Championships. The boys will look after the website as well, and that all done. We'll crown another weekly champion on Saturday in the Live League. So busy times for darts, and like we say, 6 weeks on the bounce of PDC darts to look forward to in different shapes and sizes. It's been Monday evening. It's been absolutely fabulous to have you along. We have been the Live Lounge. I've been Phill Bars, joined by Jack Gobby Garwood, and of course Lee Boyce. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your company, and we will see you Monday 8 p.m. next week for the new Live Lounge.
3, 2, 1, let's go.